Okay, so now we're going to talk about powers of I. First of all, I is I. Okay, so sometimes students forget that. I is represents the square root of -1, and you can't simplify it. It's just I. But I squared, that is -1. Okay, so what do you think I cubed is? Well, I cubed, you could write that as I times I squared, which would be I times -1, which would be -I. Okay. So what about I to the 4th? Well, you could say that's I squared times I squared, which would be -1 times -1, which is 1. Well, what about I to the 5th? Okay, I to the 5th would be I times I to the 4th. But we just discovered I to the 4th, that's just 1. So you're just going to get I times 1, which is I. What about I to the 6th? Well, it's I squared times I to the 4th. Because we're adding exponents, right? So the bases are the same. You add the exponents. 2 plus 4 is 6. I squared, well, that's -1. We know that one because that comes from up here. And then I to the 4th is just 1. So I get -1. Okay. Yeah. I to the 7th. Well, that's I cubed times I to the 4th. But I to the 4th, that's just 1. So what is I cubed? We have that on our chart right here. It's -I. What about I to the 8th? Well, that's I to the 4th times I to the 4th, which is 1 times 1, which is 1. Okay, and you might be saying, how long is she going to do this? I'm going to stop. So it's cyclic. You have I, -1, -I, 1. I, -1, I. Wait a minute. That's supposed to be a -I, sorry. -I, 1. And it just keeps cycling around like that, okay? So there are 4 things you can have. It can either be I. So here comes an I chart. I is I. I squared is -1. I cubed is -I. And then I to the 4th is just 1. And everything is going to be one of those final answers. So in your final answers, when you're doing this, you're never going to have an exponent on I other than 1. Okay? You can have some kind of 1 or some kind of I, but you can't have like I to the 5th or I to the 27th or whatever. Okay, so let's show you an example of how you might use this idea. So I'm going to do an example here, and then in the next video we have some more examples. Let's say you have I to the 63rd power. Well, I do not want to keep writing this out 63 times, but I know that every group of 4 is just 1. So how many times does 4 go into 63? Well, 1, 4, 23, 15, 20, remainder 3. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to say I to the 63rd power is I to the 4th, and then that's to the 15th times I cubed. Okay, so that's kind of a lot to figure out here, but I'm dividing my 63, my exponent, by 4. It goes 15 times, and then the remainder here was 3. Now, why does this work? Well, my rules of exponents say 4 times 5 is 60, and then it's multiplication here, so I'm going to add that other exponent, 3, and that's how I get 63. Now, you might be saying, well, why do you want to do that? Because I to the 4th is just 1. So now I have 1 to the 15th times I cubed. Well, this is just going to be 1. So 1 times 1 times 1, 15 of them, that's just going to be 1. So now it simplifies to I cubed, but that's on my I chart. And so I know it's -I, and I'm done. Okay? All right. That's the idea. I'm going to give you a couple more examples in the next video.